everyone looks at you different. Everyone looks at you like, oh no, I've got to feel bad for her, you know, she's had something horrible happen. I'm Imogen, I'm 18. I'm a second year communications student at Wintec. Yeah, I think actually like getting up in the morning is probably the most difficult part of my day. Like the only thing that I was physically able to do was just like lie in bed. The next day you're like, actually no, I'm gonna make today my bitch. Being so exhausted from doing nothing or from trying to tell myself no matter what you do, no one's going to care and that sort of thing. You just kind of have to be like, you are this person in a brain, in a body, that no matter what happens, everything is just a chemical reaction. If you have a broken arm, you get the cast taken off, and then I guess you're recovered, you know, you're better, your arm isn't broken anymore. But it's something without incredibly extensive research, you can't decide whether or not you actually are cured. You know, you're not going to go for brain scans every 3 months to be like, oh, is there serotonin? Is there not? No. And then after we broke up, he'd text me and tell me that he was going to hurt himself or he was going to kill himself, and that was it. And then I'd say, okay, I'm going to call the police, and he'd tell me that if I called the police, I'd ruin his life. And that went on for a few months. And he'd call me and tell me that he was going to hurt himself and this, that, and the other, but there was nothing I could do, and it was, really messed up. And one day he texted me, and I remember very vividly where I was and what I was doing. I was in social studies. My phone went off, and I looked, and it was him, and he was like, oh, I'm really sorry. I love you, and I think you should call the police. Probably the worst part about it for me was I was sat with my sister in her room, and she asked me, when are you going to go and see him? I said, I don't want to see him. I don't want to speak to him. I don't want to say anything to him. You know, he needs to finish this like stage of his life on his own. I don't want to have anything to do with him from this point onwards, you know. He's really hurt me, this sort of thing. My mum overheard. She said, I think it's best that you go and see him. I said, I don't want him to think that I'm still a part of his life. And just like the way my mum looked at me, just kind of told me that this was the last part of his life. I guess after that we went and saw him in the hospital, and that was the most traumatic thing I've ever seen. And I think it always will be, but well, I guess I hope it is, because I don't want to see anything worse than that ever again. It's because it's like you're already feeling all of these like really crazy emotions, like you're angry and you're sad and you're lost, and then you have to go back and try and act like a normal person because you know everyone knows, and you knew everyone was looking at you like you're broken. But eventually it just kind of, I don't know, becomes your normal. The way I cope with things is I just use humour to mask it. Something I tell my younger self is that what has happened doesn't define you. You will cope, you will get through it. Use the horrible things that you've had to go through to maybe make someone else's life feel a little bit easier. I wish I could go back and tell myself that it wasn't my fault. What else? There's a lot of things that I'd say to myself. I don't believe in the whole suicide just passes your pain on to someone else. I don't believe in that. I think that's kind of stupid, and it's okay to be in a really dark place for a little bit, but there's only one person that can get you out of that sort of dark place, and that's you. And I can use what has happened to me to try and help somebody or some other people that might be contemplating taking their own life. But if you are feeling like you would like to take your own life, please don't. Even if you think there's no one out there that would care, there is. I will care. I don't know. my advice. Don't kill yourself. That's my advice.